So cute.
And here we go. Hello. Welcome. How is everyone doing today? Okay, my name is Taylor Thompson.
And I'm Larry Thompson, and our special guest.
And so we have some amazing guests. As you guys are coming on, let us know that you're here. We want to say hi. We're streaming on several different platforms. And so we want to know where you're coming in from. We have a large international audience. And so I promoted this book. This couple is such a powerhouse couple. I cannot wait for you to meet them and introduce them and share what they've been working on and how it's going to impact you, how it's going to impact your life, and how it's going to impact your business. So as you're coming on, please say hello. We have our special guest here, Mr. Mark Victor Hansen and his beautiful bride, Miss Crystal Dyer Hansen. So nice to have you here.
Wow.
Welcome.
We're thankful to be on.
Yeah, you guys, we're so happy to be here with you today.
Wow, it's going to be so exciting. We talk about in the network marketing business and how we say networking. And most of the time people connect that to a business, but really what we're doing here is truly networking. Yes. Because what you guys do and to have you guys on our platform, we feel so honored. We were just talking about here, Mark, you guys, why don't you share your background with how you guys go back many years ago and who connected you guys?
I'll just go first. As all of you know, I wrote the Chicken Soup for the Soul books with Jack Canfield, and we sold 500 million books, which is the most ever. But my goal is actually to sell 1 billion, which I'm going to live to be 127 options for renewal, so it'll happen. And I started out as a speaker who wrote books, and then all of a sudden now I've written 318 books that have been published. So it's switched. Now I'm a author who speaks, and years ago, Larry and I were on a program with our dear friend. I was doing all the training on what's called Leadership Weekend with Kyle Wilson and a company called TPN, the People's Network. And I was the opening act. And our friend Jim Rohn would always say, God, Mark comes on as a number 5 hurricane, and then I have to follow him. But we traveled everywhere together. And then we're doing a giant thing with, I have no idea who hired us, Larry, but 6,000 people is the number I remember, because that was big stuff for me. I mean, and I was at UCI where one of our daughters, we have 5 kids, 6 grandkids, and one of our daughters graduated second in class out of 38,000 at UCI. So I'm sort of keen on that place. But I remember all of us being together and sitting in the front row before each of us got to go up and wow the audience. And the audience just couldn't believe how much fun they were having with you and I and Jim. And whoever the 4th person was, I can't remember. I apologize to them.
Listen, those were some fun times, and I got to tell you, with how many books that you've sold, but this is the first time that the two of you and Crystal, have co-authored a book together, which is it's really cool for me, because Taylor and I, used to be, I was out there on the front end like you're talking about here, but in the last 15 years, Taylor and I have been working side by side, and really, she's got the spotlight on her more than on me, which I absolutely love, because she brings out something in me, a softness in me and a depth in me that is more communicating to women than I've been in the past. And today in our space, 70% plus is women. So it's nice to watch it happen, and it's nice to watch her blossom. And so it's kind of cool.
Well, and I appreciate you talking about this, because the fact that you guys, this is your first book that you've co-authored, and I love this.
Love the colors.
I love the colors because it definitely connects with women. Larry and I, Larry just had his first book, but we actually kind of co-authored it together. But I want to be you when I grew up. I mean, 500 million, not just a million, 500 million copies sold. I mean, like, you are the definitely guru. I mean, like, how do you even touch that? So, but and we could talk about all the books that you have written and what all you've done separately. But, I mentioned this before, and you're kind of laying the foundation for this. Crystal, like, you sitting beside this man here, I know we kind of stand in the shadows of these giants. But let's talk about you, because I read your bio, and you are an absolute megastar in your own right. I mean, the fact that, you want to talk about this a little bit and how this all came about and how this book came about, because I love the title, Ask. Tell us about that.
Thank you. So just to back it up a little bit, yeah, I I'm a transformational life coach, clinical hypnotherapist, and I had a thriving practice, and my clients were just having so many magnificent breakthroughs. I mean, people were coming to me who had been depressed their entire lives, clinically depressed, told that they would always be depressed, on medication, anxiety, all of those things. And in, a few appointments, maybe 4 or 5 appointments, I would get letters saying, you've completely freed me from my crushing depression. And so I knew there was something so special to share. I wanted to write my own book about the work I was doing with my clients. That's how Mark and I met. My mom, I talked to her about the book. I started writing my first book, Pure Thoughts for Pure Results, which I'm relaunching again. I've pulled it off Amazon because I'm rewriting that book. But my mom sent me to Author 101. She got an email one day and said, Crystal, you need to go to this. You need to meet, there will be publishers and publicists, and Mark Victor Hansen will be there. And I'm like, whoa, Mom, okay, when is it? And she goes, it's the day after tomorrow. And I go, oh, they'll be sold out for sure. So I'm trying to get out of it. I'm like, I can't go to this thing. Who's going to watch the kids? She goes, no, just go. I'll watch the kids, because I was recently divorced. So I call Rick Frischman. He's the promoter of it. He called me back within 5 minutes and said, Crystal, you have to come over. There's room for you. So a day and a half later, I'm in LA. Mark's the keynote speaker. I go to the VIP room. I'm talking with a speaking coach about my work, and I am all business. I'm like, I am not even going to drink a glass of wine. I'm going to, really tout my work, because this is so important to me to get this out. And someone was standing next to me talking with their hands and knocked an entire glass of red wine on my white pants. Well, Mark must have been watching from the corner, because he came breaking out of his crowd that was surrounding him, comes rushing over to my side and said, I'm so sorry. I know where the club soda is. Let me show you. Let's go find it.
Well done.
I know.
We're old school. We know.
I'm like, what? And so, we started talking, and he said, I told him the work I was doing, because I went there to be all business. I was like, this is about my work. I'm going to share it. It's so important. So he's like, I really feel something about you and what you're doing. I get this feeling that you could really help a lot of people, especially women, and you need to get your voice out there. I'm starving. Would you like to go have dinner? And I said, sure. I haven't eaten either. It was like 9:30 at night. He goes, let's leave the property, because everyone will be surrounding me all night if we don't. So I went upstairs to change out of my wine-stained pants, and I called my mom very quickly. I said, Mom, I got to be quick. How are the kids doing? I go, you're not going to believe this, but I said, Mark Victor Hansen and I are going to dinner. And she goes, I knew it. I was like, seriously, Mom, you knew it? So it was amazing, because during that dinner, we sat down together, you guys, and it was like we had known each other forever, not just this lifetime. It was incredible. It was really, truly something I'd never experienced. Either of us had experienced before. I think I can speak for Mark. But, I wasn't even ready to date. So we became good friends. We communicated over the summer. And finally, when I was ready to date, after my kids were more settled down and about the divorce, because I had planned my entire summer with my kids, and I wasn't going to violate that. So we started dating and never stopped. And, just to get to the book, we started realizing that people needed extra help. And this was pre-COVID. The timing is crazy, because we launched our book on April 28th, which was, right after the shutdown.
1 year ago.
And we're saying, okay, God, what's this about? Like, is this just rotten timing? As it turns out, it was the best timing, because when we wrote that book, we really came together and said, people need help. A lot of people we knew, just incredible human beings, were not reaching their potential. And we're like, this woman's so smart. She could be, the CEO of a company. This guy could be running a city. He's brilliant. But they were falling short of all of their potential. And we're like, okay, we've had adversity in our lives. Life has not been perfect for us. Everybody has adversity. People look at all of us and go, wow, you guys must have had it easy. It's not true, right? So we said, how did we get over our adversity again and again and again? And we realized it was because we knew how to ask our way forward. And we started developing this idea. We're like, we have to share this. And then we determined there are actually 3 channels through which you need to learn to ask. And those are ask yourself, ask others, and ask God. And each of those channels is equally important for you to tap into your greatest potential, for you to tap that journey for which you were made. If you aren't able to form the right questions at the right time in the right way, you just won't uncover all of those clues, all of the direction that is waiting for you, all of the connections that are waiting for you. So we got fired up. We said, let's do this. Started writing. He took his pieces. I took my pieces. I'm kind of the editor that blends, does all the blending. And you guys, it is changing lives. That's the thing. The timing was perfect. People, we get letters saying, I had lost all hope, because of COVID and shutdown and life changes. This has got me started. I am back on track.
So there's so many rabbit trails that you're like, I'm spinning off. I'm like, okay, which one do I go down? But the first one,
and I got to deal with this 24/7.
I mean, like, first of all, like, you guys, we've run in parallel worlds as far as the way you guys met, your relationship. But I mean, you talk about God, I mean, God so orders our steps. I truly believe that. I know that that's how our journey started. So we definitely have to have dinner and have this conversation.
Yeah.
But I love where you were in the beginning. You were talking about the pure thoughts, right? So we're big believers, and we always teach this within the dynamics of business. And whenever we're talking to distributors, and it's like everything starts with a thought, right? Everything starts with a thought, and thoughts become words. So I love that that's where you were to begin with. But whenever you bring all of this in together, whenever you bring all of this into alignment with this book, I think so many times where people, these pillars, ask yourself, ask others, and ask God. I think that most people are afraid to ask anything, not necessarily of themselves, not necessarily of others, and not necessarily. Because I'm always of the mindset it's always a no unless you ask, right?
That's correct, and that's why what we discovered, Taylor. Good question. Is that we said, look, there's 7 roadblocks to asking that stifle, stumble, detour everyone. First of all, is a sense of unworthiness, and we do a great story about. Larry knows Bob Proctor as well as I do, and then naivete, and then we got doubt, and then we got fear, and then we got indecision, and we got excuses, and then disconnection, and every one of them stops everyone. So what we did is, first of all, we tested ourselves and wrote everything we knew about asking. Then we went and checked it out with Harvard and Cambridge and Stanford, and they all said asking is the key. And obviously spiritual literature says ask and you'll receive, but Big Guy never detailed how you do that. Now he knew how to do it, and maybe he taught the Big 12 guys, but that didn't get communicated very well. So he said, well, wait a second, we'll do it, because if, the subtitle of the book is Ask, the Bridge from Your Dreams. Everybody's got lots and lots of dreams to your destiny. We think, and I think you guys think and believe, and I hope your listeners and our viewers do, everyone's coded at depth with a destiny. The trouble is, they go to school and they say, well, I'm an engineer, so that's what I'm supposed to do. Or I'm a doctor, or I'm a dentist, or I'm a garbage man, or whatever it is. I don't care what you are. Or I'm a network marketer. And I've been good at that like you guys have. Not as good, but good. And the point is, you get stuck in it. You close yourself down. And like, I had to go to the dentist last week, and I said, look, I know 2 dentists that have made fortunes, and they didn't get stuck in being a dentist. One looked at a piece of string and saw a thing called dental floss made $2 billion. The other guy that was our neighbor back when we lived in Newport Beach, we now live in Scottsdale, Arizona, but back then he created 3D printing of teeth, makes $2 million a week. But the point that I'm making to everybody out there is do better in your network marketing company than you've ever done. But unless you got our book and go through the third one, which is ask God, God, what's your destiny for me? God, what's your destiny for me? God, what's your destiny for me? 400 times before you go to sleep. And then when you wake up, make sure you got a pad and paper and write it down, because God in you knows what you're supposed to be doing. I don't know, but this isn't a dress rehearsal. You and I are here to do something fantastic, specific, hit like you. Luckily, the 4 of us have done something record-breaking, history-making, and I'm Guinness Book of Records world best-selling author now, and I'm very thankful. But I'm humbled by the fact that my goal. Thank you. My goal is to get everybody to get themselves a standing ovation, and I am convinced, because I know the training you guys are doing is terrific. Everybody needs to get a personal standing ovation. First, they got to give it to themselves, and then the world can give it to them. Would you guys agree with that?
Absolutely. this is, I mean, like one of this, some of the things that you were saying, and I think that this is so relevant because one of your chapters you're talking about, you're a human being, but you're a human becoming. So many times I think people get, instead of being a human being, which I love the way human becoming, but so many times people get caught into being a human doing, like what they do, right? And instead of what they can become, and like you said, put themselves in a box. And I think the question that most people need to break themselves of asking is the how. They always, because if they ask, then their mind stops and they go, well, how am I going to do that? Instead of allowing the freedom of God or others or themselves to the flow, they stop. They stop with, go, how is that going to happen? Do you guys find that? Have you found that be true, Crystal?
Let both of us answer. I'll just do the spiritual line. Romans 11, I think it's 11:33 says, God in you ways are past finding out. So God always figures out how. You got to figure out what you want, put it in writing, visualize it, realize it, pray over it. And Crystal, would you add to that?
Well, I just wanted to, go back to how we came into this world. We all come in as these beautiful children, like completely uncorrupted in our ability to ask for anything. We're wildly curious and we want to know. We want to know who, what, when, where, why, how. And we also want more. We're not afraid to ask for more, right? We're pretty much not afraid to ask for anything when we come in as children. And then depending on how we were parented, what happened in our school years, be quiet, sit down, don't talk unless you're called upon, I'm tired of you asking, don't ask so many questions. Just basic, work rejection, you get beat up, your opinion's not valued, just do as you're told kind of thing. Over time, we start to feel so internally rejected, and that amazing ability to ask and be curious and wonder gets crushed out of us. And it's the very way that we learn and evolve. That's why children learn, evolve, and grow so quickly. And then suddenly we stop because we're shut down. We're scared to ask. We're scared to wonder. And we find ourselves suddenly, you guys, just standing there as adult human beings, literally terrified to ask for anything and sort of ashamed that we don't already have the answer. So we kind of hide it. And think about that, you guys. I mean, think about when you felt like that. I know everyone here has felt that way. And it's not the way we're going to reach our greatest potential until we start like intervening in our own process through asking and making a decision that we're going to bring that beautiful ability to ask back to life. And that's why Mark and I wrote the book. We want everyone to take this asking journey with us because it will start to reveal things that you cannot believe about yourself and your potential and the connections you're supposed to make in this life.
That's so good. I think that, I think the fear of asking because of fear of being disappointed, a fear of being let down because they've lost hope. I mean, we had this, our pastor in church yesterday was talking about the person that has everything hopes for nothing. And whenever you think about faith, so you're in fear. I always think of everything that you were saying, like you're either in fear or faith. You can't be both. But what is the definition of faith? Faith is being sure of what you hope for and certain of what you don't see. So this is, you were going to say something.
We're talking about hope and we're talking about the unrealized potential that's with all of us. And, you never saw yourself as this great book writer and, 500 million going for 1 billion books. You didn't see that. And it's there. And sometimes you'd say, how did that happen? It was a day at a time and a brick at a time of disappointment, excitement, and win, lose. And, for myself, I was the long-haired hippie construction worker I never finished high school. And Mark and I, when we started Herbalife, neither one of us had a high school education, neither one of us. Okay. And so it's in the space that we work in sales and marketing, people don't believe that they're tall enough, using that as an illustration, or short enough, or young enough, or old enough. They always find those faults in themselves. And to be able to ask, is a big, big deal. But most people have those inherent skills inside of them to be successful. If you're a single mom or stay-at-home mom, you have the skills to be successful right this minute, because you have that self-responsibility, that self-determination, so that you're becoming self-functional. The book that you guys have out here is bridging that little gap that gets me in my thinking to believe maybe I can do this. Maybe it is possible, because most often in leadership development, personal growth, people think you arrive. Okay. Taylor's being interviewed here about a month ago, and this guy said to her, listen, tell me, what advice did you hear? What did you tell yourself 20 years ago that got you to be so successful? Right. And I'm thinking, whoa, this guy missed the point. Okay, you never arrive. You're always growing. You're always asking. You're always growing. And you're always becoming more, and you're always enough, no matter what the challenge is in front of you, if you'll just have that confidence, because that's how we were made. That's how we were created.
Right. Oh, go ahead.
I just pulled up this comment here. I'm not sure like who's saying this. If you haven't given StreamYard permission to give you your name, all we see is Facebook user. But I love what's being said here. I feel like God led me here today, truly. Yeah. So powerful. Like, I mean, such a powerful statement. And, I love where you're saying, come as the childlike faith, and believing, I think that's where we as adults, we grow up and we start losing that childlike belief, and, that I'm not good enough, and do you guys find that with social media and the world we live in, I think more people are even more beat up and beat down and discouraged?
Absolutely. We're putting up these, false images of ourselves, and then others are feeling like they don't measure up to that image. And here's the truth. We're all an image of God. We're all created in our Creator's image. So we need to remember that every day and keep asking our way forward. I mean, life is never this straight, narrow path. We all know that, right? We get beat up, things happen. It just, no matter how much money you have, who you are, life is going to present you with difficulties. And so the important thing is that you have tools in your toolbox that you can pull out every day. It's like, okay, I'm having a difficulty, got to go to my tools, okay, because I will get past this, okay? The promise is there. I know who I am. I know I'm created in the Creator's image, but I need to pull out my tools, okay? And asking is one of the greatest tools, because there is nothing that has the ability to reveal what is hidden from you like asking. So when we're going through these difficult periods, what happens is our mind kind of springs to fear. We kind of go into that panic mode, which puts us into our primitive brain. And now we're not thinking from our creative mind, we're thinking from our survival mind, right? Yes. Which is never a good thing, right? Because we're kind of reacting like an animal. We're scared. We need to come back to that place where we can use our mind to the fullest. And that starts with pulling that tool out and just asking one question at a time. Think of those questions, because the asking yourself part, you guys, is the reflective journey. So that is the most important time you can spend during the day. Mark and I do an hour of prayer, meditation, and then asking these questions like, where are we today? Are we on track? Are we listening to what our greatest purpose is? And then, asking God, what is the greatest expression for which you made me? I want to find that. Help me find it. Help me ask the right questions and the right people in the right way. And all these questions will start to unfold, you guys, as you ask the first one, the next one unfolds, and the next one. And pretty soon you'll start to think of things. You'll get a solution. You'll get an illumination. You'll think of a thing. I need to call this person. Well, then the next step is taking the action, right? That's the next critical phase. The first critical phase is like, where am I now? Where do I want to be? And then that third critical phase is when you start to get those revelations that you're going to get, then you thought of that person for a reason, okay? This person came to your path. Go ask them about themselves. You don't know if you're passing by your next best friend, your next best advocate, or someone that can teach you something about life. But because we've lost this curiosity about life and our purpose and everything, we've stopped. But let's commit together. I mean, wouldn't it be great if we all said today, let's take this asking journey together. Let's recommit to our own excellence and to connecting to everybody who's meant to be in our path.
Taylor, can I add one thing?
Sure. Absolutely. Go.
Somebody just came across on Facebook, and I have no idea because it didn't have a name, but they said, how do I ever get to ask a question to Mark Victor Hansen and Crystal? And I said, there's 3 ways. Number one is we want everyone to get a copy of Ask because it's now the best-selling book in America, or one of. We're breaking all the records. It's sold out a couple of times. We're in both paperback and hardbound because we had to do that. But then we want you to go to askthebookclub.com, and for free, you get to talk to Crystal and Mark. So that's number one, askthebookclub.com. And we want to help everybody become what we're calling master askers, like you guys are, and we are. And then number 2 is that we're back in a seminar trail. And then number 3 is that if you watch any of our social media, like today, you were announced by everybody, even in our dear friend Ken Walls, blasted all of his people that said, listen to Taylor, Larry, Mark, and Crystal. And I went, why are you doing that? I didn't even ask you to do it, but thank you for doing it, Ken. I just, so the people that are in love with good thinking, with breaking out of what I call COVID confinement cocoon, which we all got to do, but not just America, 350 or 60 million of us, but 8 billion of us got to break out. And the only way they're going to break out, as far as I'm concerned, and I'd love to hear you reflect on that, is that if we have these podcasts that are honest, ethical, and for the most part free. I mean, unless you're charging something for this, I don't know that you are.
No. No, I mean, like, we have a book club too. I mean, like, because which is free, that we offer to people because, I think now more than ever, to your point, I mean, we've over the last year, people have been really conditioned, beat down, that they've lost sight of any hope. They've lost that glimmer of light. And so, we want to, really perpetuate the message more than anything, just like we talk about our book and exactly the message that you're talking about. You are good enough. God created you in his image. You are created in his image. You are a speaking spirit, right? And so this is such a powerful conversation. And for me, I want everybody to be inspired, even if it just means taking one little step, right? Just one little step. Most of the time they come on and they become overwhelmed, and it's just saying, okay, just take one step, get the book, join your book club, right? Askthebookclub.com. If somebody can put that in the comments for the users here, I would certainly appreciate that. But I'm going to go back to something that you said just a few minutes ago, Mark, and you were talking about writing it down. Because I go to the scripture, write it down and make it plain. The scripture talks about, without a vision, my people perish. All of these things, when you're talking about the power of the tongue, whenever all of those pieces that are connected to us as to how we were created and the tools that we have right in our hands, right this minute. Our tools are right in our hand right this minute. It's how do we appropriate them? You want to elaborate on that just a little bit?
By the way, that's what Crystal was saying. All of us have 4 to 10 times more talent than we've ever used. And the first of all is that you got to understand conscious goes to subconscious, goes to superconscious, goes to God conscious, which is what you're talking about. That's the model I believe, and I think you guys agree with. And the point is, once you figure out what you want, like when I was bankrupt and upside down back in 1974, I built the Wall Street Racket Club, Botanic Gardens, aviaries. I'm 26 and I think I'm a hot shot and living on top of the world. The problem is I'm building out of polyvinyl chloride plastic when the oil embargo hit, and I crashed and burned so fast. I literally had to go to the library and check out a book out of the library. I laugh now, but it was painful. How to go bankrupt by yourself. Which, whatever question you ask, your subconscious is compelled to answer. It's a robot. Conscious makes decisions. Subconscious makes a provision. So I'm reading this book, How to Go Bankrupt. Well, of course, I went bankrupt, my best, worst experience, because then I said, well, what do I really want to do? I prayed every night for 6 months. I'm upside down. I go, come on, God, tell me, what am I supposed to do here? And one night it came through that I'm supposed to talk to people that care about things that matter that would make a life transformative difference. I go to my roommates in Hicksville, Long Island, New York, were living for $100 a month. So things were not very good. And I'm driving around in an old Volkswagen. I say, hey guys, any of you know a young speaker who's not a lawyer, not a doctor, not a celebrity, not a Broadway star, and not a cotton tom, an old person or a bald person like I am today, but that I could relate to? Said, yeah. There's this kid, Chip Collins. He only does real estate, but he's talking to all of us realtors. And I have a little ticket here. Just take my little ticket and go out there. I raced my little butt out in that $400 pitted window, permanently air conditioned Volkswagen. Get there for 3 hours. Chip Collins mesmerized. He was wonderful in the worst. I mean, the interest rate was 22%, so nobody was buying real estate. He wowed him. Afterwards, I walk up and I ask him, just like I'd ask my roommates. The first miracle is I asked God and God answered. Then I asked my roommates. Now I'm asking Chip Collins, can I take you to lunch? Teach me how to do this. He said, look, kid, you make it as 1 in 1,000. You ain't going to make it. I said, no, let me determine that, because I understand willpower and I'm pretty good at stuff, so I'll do it. So he told me what to do, but he said, stay out of real estate. I own this 5 boroughs of New York. You do life insurance. It's bottomless. Hell, I didn't know what life insurance was. I didn't know what a premium was. And I went on and had the guts to go train it. He said, call on 10, one will buy. The 10th guy, Tony, bought. He was as big as this table that we're sitting at. He made 450 pounds if he weighed an ounce. And Tony says, Mark, I'm the #1 guy in the #1 country here at Metropolitan Life Insurance. Here's a list, a directory of everybody in Metropolitan. You call them, you saying Big Tony told you to call. Hell, I did, only Tony Robbins and I did 1,000 talks a year the first 3 years in the business, as far as I know. I'd either talk or sell talks, and it went crazy. And then all of a sudden, people said, you had that story in a book, and the first book I wrote was Stand Up, Speak Out, and Win in little itty bitty audiences. Larry, you remember this back in your prehistoric days with Mark Hughes, I'm sure, right? When a few people would show up and more would not show up, like Jim would say. They had something important to do. And I'd say, hey, look, this isn't a New York Times bestseller. It's not a national bestseller, but it's my bestseller, and I want to sign to you, your wife, your dog, and your kids. And I sold 20,000 at $10 each. That's 200,000. I was back. I thought, wow, I've arrived. And from then on, it went up, and it's gotten a lot better. And it'll get better for every one of you listening. Even whatever your network marketing company is, if you've got self-determination to action and decide to think big, talk big, act big, live big, you're going to get big results ultimately, inevitably. I think you guys would agree with that.
Oh, absolutely. And one of the things here that I always see, and I try to encourage people with this, most people can't see themselves at the top of the mountain. They just can't. They want to be there, but they can't see themselves at the top of the mountain. And they think that the only way that you can get there is to be at the top of the mountain, so that they will see themselves and everyone else will see themselves that way. But for me, ask could be ask how I can be the best school teacher possible. Okay. Ask how I can be the best stay-at-home mom as possible, how I can be the best neighbor as possible. And they ask others, ask God, would apply not to what I would call the Lamborghini bikini crowd. Okay. So that's what most people think about. They think success is the Lamborghini bikini crowd. And success is being the best single mom that you could possibly be. You're successful and probably more happy doing that and being comfortable with your own skin and who you are and be an example for your kids. That's much different than that kind of thing there, because you don't arrive. You always go through that ups and downs and ins and outs. And so.
And they know the thing about it is that journey changes.
Yes, it does.
You know what I mean? Like that chapter changes and it evolves. Like, you know, I mean, just that you may be in the season where being the best mom is where your ass can be in that chapter.
Bravo.
But the chapter always changes. You have to keep turning the page to grow and becoming, right? We're always becoming something.
Well, I was just going to say, life is an unfoldment, and what you were talking about a minute ago, Larry. So when people they can't think of themselves as the success they want to be. What we say is, when you ask the question, so when you're getting to that phase of question where it's like, where do I want to be in my life? What do I really want, right? And really ask it from a heart and a spiritual level. But when you do it, then visualize from your greatest imagination. Start from your nth degree in mind, like, you know, say it's for your career. Imagine yourself as this tremendously successful person. doing the things you want to do. See yourself on the stage of your imagination, because you know what? We're the only animals that God gave an imagination to. Think about that. We're also the only animals that can laugh. So there's something really, really important about that. But see yourself, use that beautiful imagination, and don't imagine yourself failing. Imagine yourself already there at this perfect spot, and then ask the questions backwards. From this perfect place of my, career where I'm doing this, who am I talking to every day? What's important to me? What services am I providing? What products am I providing? How is that helping the people that I'm serving? And how can I serve better? And when you start kind of engineering it backwards by asking the questions from your perfect vision, it's amazing how you will literally start to engineer your perfect life backwards. And that can happen with relationships, whether it's, you want to work on your relationships, your career, whatever it is, your parenting, all of those things.
Can I add to that, please?
Absolutely.
So on Mother's Day, we're out with the family. We both have big families. I mean, she's 1 of 9, I'm 1 of 4. But when our families get together, it's substantial group.
1 of 9? You're 1 of 9?
And by the way, they're all beautiful.
6 girls and 3 boys.
Wow.
I'm the only child, okay? So I can't even comprehend that. Like,
it was a lot of fun. It was amazing. And we're all still very close.
So anyhow, the long story short, one of our nieces is there, and she has gone. She was an honor student. She was in STEM, science, engineering, math, and technology. A superstar kid, but she got really sick and died, basically, went to the other side. I'm a little overstating it, but came back, and she came back with this phenomenal art talent. And she had to get out of a negative situation, and she showed us the art. And I went, holy cow, this is really good. And she said, Uncle Mark, I get goosebumps telling you this, which to me is a corroboration of truth. And chicken soup, we got God bumps, goosebumps, chili bumps, instantaneous baby or change. So remember, she's a young lady, and they got a boyfriend and all that. And she said, what do you think of the art? And Crystal and I looked at it. I said, this is spiritually divine, enchanted artwork. I said, well, look, I got 3 people I got to introduce you to. I wrote a book called The Richest Kids in America, and this little girl, Lakian, painted a real picture of Christ when she was 8 years old that she sold for $1 million. I said, so I'll introduce you to Akian Kremrit. I said, then number 2 is that I'm on the board of Wyland's Foundation. We're trying to save the oceans, the world's greatest commercial artist, about $87 million a year. And Wyland's our dear friend, and we dive with him around the world. But so she calls me up one day and says, hey, Uncle Mark, I read your book, and I read the story about Wyland in here that he really wants to save the ocean, and that you wrote the first line, and we got to make every drop of water a clean drop. What do you think? I said, well, we'll call him. And she said, you do that for me? I said, look, I do it for everybody. I want everybody to have the help, and everybody can help somebody. I'm blessing you, and you got to go bless somebody else. That's the law. I didn't make the law. God made the law, but that's the way the law works. She said, when are we going to do it? I said, just hang on. So I dial, and Wyland is driving to his 8th home down in Florida, and I say, hey, why? It's Mark. He said, how are you? Because we did a book called Chicken Soup of the Ocean Lover Soul and 2 other books. So we're close friends, right? Because when you're diving and you're deep, and doing stuff, you got to trust the person you're diving with, because you're dangerous caves and stuff like that where we've been in. He scares me because he's got more guts than I do underwater, because he does it every day, and I only do it sporadically. Anyhow, he said, wow, yeah, I'll help you. And so she's going out there this week. Then the 3rd guy, we're part of Child Help, which has helped 11 million kids out of abuse, neglect, and sex trafficking. We got this phenomenal neurosurgeon who had a bicycle accident, wrecked himself, found out he had the same enchanted kind of God artwork. His name is Dr. Curtis Dickman. Amazing, amazing artwork, just otherworldly. It's so good. And I said to Curtis the other night, we were at the party, and I said, I got this niece who's really got talent. She thought she was going to go on and become a great scientist because they gave her a full scholarship because she's the smartest kid in school and a 4.4 out of 4. But she's really got art talent. Would you do it? And so on Wednesday of this week, 2 days from now, Dr. Dickman's got her coming over to see what she can do with art and sculpture talent. And she said, why are you doing that? I said, look, everybody can help somebody get a leg up. And everybody is here. Jimmy Rohn's great line. I think, Larry, you'll say I'm quoting this right. Each of us need all of us, and all of us need each of us. Isn't that the line?
Yes, that's it.
And by the way, I respect Mr. Rowan totally like you did. So, and we had great fun.
Yeah.
This is, I love this conversation just because, and here's the thing. So many times I think people shrink back in fear, especially if they know somebody that could introduce us, or they know somebody that could know somebody, you know. And right now, somebody's listening right now, and they're shrinking back in fear, knowing that somebody could make that introduction, but they're, instead of them saying, hey, I don't know, would it be possible? Could you connect me? Could you introduce me? Could you, because we all have relationships, and it's that few degrees of separation, right?
Right.
But there's somebody right now that they're shrinking back in fear out of the rejection aspect of it, afraid that it's going to be a no, afraid that, you know. And how do you address that? How do you address that with the people that you're working with, that they think enough to say, they're not afraid to ask for the help, that helping others? That is so, asking others to help you. I'll say that, asking others.
Right. It is. Well, and it's one of the 3 channels. We have to do that. We there's no way we're going to move our life path forward by ourselves. So we just need to understand that you're going to have to ask people to get your life to unfold. And so it's interesting. I just want to mention really quickly here, when we looked at the studies to do for this book, right? The studies on asking reveal that pretty much everybody coming into the study thought that if they asked someone for help, information, advice, or just assistance on getting something done, that they would be perceived as being ignorant, stupid, uninformed, or pushy and obnoxious, right? Turns out all of those things are untrue. The truth is, and the studies reveal, that if you're just willing to put yourself out there and ask, there's an 80% more likely chance that your request will be granted, because it turns out that people actually like to help. We as human beings like to help, but the other part of the study revealed that we're not just going to step up and help you, that people also don't just impose their help on you, because no one's going to do that, right? That you have to ask. So what the studies revealed is that we're not really, it doesn't come naturally sometimes for us to ask, that it needs to be taught. So we need to understand that about ourselves. So we need to intervene in our own process and say, I need to teach myself to be a better asker of people. And when we do ask, people are happy to help. Sometimes they're going to say no, but it has nothing to do with you. Okay, we personalize everything, because we're all a little bit narcissistic. We think, oh, they said no because they hate me and they think I'm stupid. It doesn't have anything to do with you. They might be having a bad day. They might have just gotten bad news about their mother. They might be struggling with something or not feeling well. Just move on. Just bless them and realize that's not about you. It's not rejection. It's just about where they are at that point in time. Sometime later, they might come back to you and say, hey, you asked me about this and I wasn't in a good place. That's happened to us a number of times. But just go ahead and ask fearlessly, because it's a way human beings bond. The other part of the study that's so interesting, you guys, is that people who were in a business relationship or a love partnership, a potential love relationship, the people who were better askers were more likable, were perceived to be much more likable. So when you're with someone, in business situations, we want to go in and okay, I've got this great product and I've got this great service, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to just share it with them and tell them how great it is and how great I am, and here's what I have. And sometimes that can put people back. They kind of push back a little bit because it's too much. What we need to do is start by asking questions. How can you sell someone something when you don't know a thing about them? The best thing you can do is sit down, and there are some really great stories in the book about this. Tell them a little bit about what you have, but say, what's important to you? Start asking them the questions. Tell me about you. And when you start to ask these questions and get feedback from them, dig a little deeper, probe a little more, because in that way, asking questions helps you create this incredible bond. And that's what human beings want. We want a bond, and it's a bond of trust. And ultimately, we will do business with the people we trust and we like. So it's just such an important thing to remember. And also in the dating study, those who ask more questions of the other person were more likely to get the second date.
Okay, so there's 3 things. Like, you start talking and I'm thinking this rabbit trail, and I go down this rabbit trail, and I'm thinking, I love this because, okay, so there's 3 little rabbit trails I wanted. First of all, whenever you said this, whenever you go through the study, would you not agree that part of that would be not asking? Would you consider part of it being a sense of pride, even because of people looking at like they don't know enough, or a sign of weakness, a sign of pride, how you see yourself as how other people see you. Would you say that would be true and why people don't ask?
Yes. When we have one of the 7 roadblocks is called excuseology or excuses. And what happened is my older brother, whose wife predeceased him, who he totally loved and cherished and adored, but he's way older than me, came here and stayed with us as a house guest. And I'm taking him to the airport at 6 in the morning. And I've traveled 250,000 miles a year for 44 years, so I'm really good at airport protocol. I just go and got TSA approval and all that junk. So some of these people meet me in the airport in the future, like there's happened to all of us. So I say, big brother, you know how to get through here. And he said, yeah, but here's a guy who was in a photographic memory, but his wife dragged his butt through the airport and I didn't know it. So I didn't walk him to the gate or get him to the right area or anything. I just said, okay, you know how to do it? He said, yeah, I'll just give you a hug goodbye and I'm out of here. Well, I get called late in the afternoon by his daughter and said, didn't you hear Uncle Marky? And I go, uh-oh, what happened to my big brother? I said, his wife, Priscilla, took him through the airport. He didn't know his way out. And so he sat there the last 13 hours. And I thought about, we put it in the book for the simple reason that if he'd called me, I would have gone back and got him. If he'd called me, I could have called somebody at the airport and got his butt through the airport. If. The point is, it's back to the question you asked, Crystal. I want to add one more thing to, and that is everybody out there is feeling scared a little bit to ask what you said, Taylor. So on behalf of 4 of us, I think you'll agree, and you can disagree if you don't agree. We give you the belief to go ask the biggest person you know. You don't even have to ask us. You just say, hey, look, Crystal, Mark, Larry, and Taylor sent me. So it's not my fault that I got to ask you this really hard question or ask you to come and look at my network marketing company or ask you to marry me. These 4 people put me up to it. It's their fault. Yeah. Are you guys okay with that?
Yeah, I love it.
Absolutely.
I love it. And I love, so here was the other rabbit trail. That was really good. That was really good because it's always a no unless you ask, but the things that people think about, but because between us, we have 6 daughters. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like my family.
Yeah. So, but
what that means when you come home and the toilet seat is up, you start asking questions.
Yeah, who's been here?
Larry.
But this part right here, in relationships, because you were talking about, asking the questions because people are looking for the transaction. They're not looking for the relationship. We talk about relationship. We talk about we're more social than ever, but we're not really asking the questions to truly get to know who that person is and what they're really all about and making it a relation. They're looking for the end game. They're looking for the transaction. What's in it for me? And so, and in a sales relationship, but also you were talking about in a dating relationship,
yes.
Because we have daughters that date, and one of my daughters, she was like, it's so annoying. All he did was talk about himself. He never asked me then the second date, and she was like, "Oh, and I'm done with this guy."
Right. Yeah.
She's like, I'm done with this guy. She said, I would ask him questions, and then he would just keep talking about himself.
Right.
And it was never reciprocal. So I love that because it's so accurate. It's so spot on. You can't build a relationship unless you are truly connecting. And it's one of the things that we've always taught our girls in especially phone conversation, phone etiquette. And Larry, one of his friends, and I digress, but here's the thing. We've always tested this with people. If you keep asking somebody questions long enough, you could literally hang up the phone and they never ask you anything about you. He has a friend, and we laugh about this all the time, a long time frame. This guy will call him out of the blue and call him. He'll talk about himself, and Larry just keeps asking him questions about himself. They'll talk for 30 minutes. The guy never says, so how are you doing? What's going on with you and your family? What's going on with your life? they'll hang up the phone. That's the end of the conversation. And so many times I think people are conditioned to be like that. Do you find that to be true in this day and age?
Right, absolutely. But here's the thing, you guys, you'll never forge real bonds. Like, you have these friends, you'll have a friend, but it's really, this isn't the guy you're going to call on when you have something real in life, right? Yeah. So you're not really forging a bond. And I think all of us need to remember that, like, we need to kind of get out of our own headspace and kind of get out of our own narcissism and realize that if, with business or with relationships, you have to approach it as, almost from a service, a heart service, approach. Like, you're not there just to get something. Yes. We have a question in the end of the book. It's like, we call it the question flip technique. So instead of, when you're about to approach something, whether it's a relationship or something you want to do in life, instead of asking, what do I get from this? Ask yourself, who do I become from this?
Yourself.
Who do I become from this? Who do I become from doing this business every day? Who can I become today? Who can I become in this relationship? And then you show up as a different human being. You're not just out to get something. You are understanding that your journey here is about evolving every day into becoming something better. And the most successful people understand that. They understand business is only relationships. It really is. It really is. And you're going to do business with the people that you feel bonded to. And so if you wake up every day and just say, how am I going to forge bonds with people today? How am I going to be there for people? I swear your business will grow in ways you never imagined because you're approaching it differently. And using the art and science of asking is how you forge those bonds.
I love this. I want to know what has been the biggest takeaways for you two as this book has launched, as people have connected to you. What has been revelatory for you two?
Okay, because people are so depressed, so despondent, so pushed down, so crushed by government idiocy at the moment. And I am in judgment, and I know judge not and be not judged, but it just, because it's not, if you take ivermectin and you take hydrochloroquine, you can get rid of the problem. So the point is, what broke through for us is we went on a show that I can get you guys on if you want, with Scott Carson more than once now, 2 or 3 times, big show. And Scott said, I don't want anyone to buy one book. I want you to buy 2. I want you to buy 2 or 3, but I want you to buddy up with somebody. I want you to buddy up with your spouse or your business partner, your mastermind partner, your church partner, whomever it is. And what happened is our letters, she got like 121 letters from people in the next couple of days going, holy cow, I didn't know that I didn't know about who I am. Most people don't know who they are. They say, well, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I know who I am. No, you don't know who you are. Who are you in God and who's God in you? And then how much can you manifest? Because the question is, where are you against your potential in 7 levels of life? I mean, we're talking about money, we're talking about relationship, we're talking about, are you spiritually growing? Because right now, a lot of people have not been able to go to church or temple or synagogue or ashram or mosque, and they're missing out on their own spiritual growth, but they're not even doing their personal revelatory discussion. And that's why we're saying, once you learn to ask, you have these illuminations, these solutions, these revelations, and it's there for every one of us, because all of us are overendowed with 18 billion brain cells that can't come to work until you ask.
So
yeah, as I'm going through this, I got to go back on my journey, and it's continuous. Once you think you get there, wait a minute, there's another hurdle here, man. There's always another hurdle. Okay, and it has nothing to do with income, and it has nothing to do with spouses. It has something to do with yourself. And when you're talking about asking, okay, and you start with ask yourself, which is the biggest thing you have to do. And we don't think that we're tall enough, as I stated earlier. We don't think that we're young enough. We don't think that we're smart enough. We don't think. We got to ask us, okay? Then we got to ask the others, as you referred to here. What do you think about this? And then, you ask God. So what is it? Again, I found in my space here that people think it's money. And money is the least part of it. That will follow. Money is the result, never the cause. And if it is the cause, it will run out, okay? And you'll find that you're going to have something else going on in your life. And anyone that's made a lot of money understands that, and we think we're there. So when I'm simple. Like I said, I never finished high school. So I had to ask myself, is this something that's possible that maybe, perhaps, someone like myself with no self-confidence, no self-esteem, tell you the color of your shoes, but not the color of your eyes, is it possible for someone like me to have any kind of success, not the mega success, 10% of their success? Is it possible? Then to ask a few others, and at that point, the person I had to ask, because Jim Rohn and I joined the same company 54 years ago, the same night, the same company, and we were both guests at the same company. And I knew Jim. Not everybody knows Jim as a philosopher and a speaker, and he's so powerful. But I knew Jim as a distributor. We worked together as a distributor, so I had that asking others deal in my forte as far as being able to get some belief in myself. And then, of course, asking God. That's when things really start happening for me. It took about 14, 15 years for me, because I never was raised in the church. I was never there to get to find the next person that I asked, what about this? And they said this, and it started me on my spiritual journey. And that was 40 plus years ago. So it is a day at a time that you ask yourself. You don't ask yourself once. You ask yourself a day at a time, a brick at a time, every single day on every single thing. And the concept is you ask others too. And it isn't like you go to the same people. It could be listening. This is asking others, watching this broadcast to the two of you. Okay, it's asking others. You're saying, okay, come on, Mark Victor, come on, Crystal, tell me what the deal is. And then you get to the spiritual side. So I'm always an encourager of the everyday person. The everyday person. Again, I stated it earlier, but the waitress, can she be the best waitress? Ask herself, can I be the best waitress and the best mom at the same time? Okay, and that's better than a six-figure income. That's better than a seven-figure income when that flows into life.
And I love what you said, tying this into what Larry said, Mark, is that you use this phrase, and we use this all the time, the self-determination.
Yes.
We call that one of our pillars of leadership, self-determination. And it ties right into this right here of what you guys are talking about. Whenever you, I'll talk about your book club for a minute. Whenever they join, okay, so for those of you who are listening in, you're still here, and thank you so much for hanging out. And if you've heard some stuff in here, please share this out. Share this out with somebody that needs to hear this message today, that needs to be inspired, that needs to feel a glimmer of hope, to need to feel like they are good enough right this minute. They have the tools in their hand. They have what it takes. God didn't make junk, right? And so you've got it. So if somebody in your life needs to hear this message of inspiration, please share this out. Please share this out. And if you do, if you share this out, I'll put your name in a drawing and I'll send you a free book. I'll send you one of their books. I'll send it to you, but your book club, so write in the comments here, please somebody put in www.askthebookclub.com. This is their book club. Can you tell a little bit about everybody, how your book club works and what they're going to get and how that looks?
Right. So we're launching the book club soon, and we just want to take a deep dive into this asking journey, because you guys, there's really, this book is a course. There are so many stories, but it's so important to be able to discuss it together. We want people to be able to open up in a real way and discuss, how this applies to them. What does this mean in their own life, and how they can connect it to everything that's going on in their life. And that's the main thing. It's just going to be a great discussion on how to do that, and all the principles. There's so much more to teach about this that it's exciting for us. You know what I mean?
Yes.
We love teaching it. We love sharing it.
Yeah. Because it makes a difference. You know it.
There you go, Larry.
Yeah.
It does make a difference. And the thing about it is that, I could have these kind of conversations because we know I mean, at the end of the day, we talk about this, you know, it really does come down to what's in the mental projector, you know, and how you see yourself and is what other people see. You know, what you're projecting now is how people receive you, how people connect with you. And so you got to start with you. So is this how you want people to connect with you, is through your book club? And do you know when that's going to be launched? Do you know what, or
Yeah, it's like the lady who wrote down in the comment in the chat room, you know, how do I ask Mark Victor Hansen a question? Well, look, the reason I'm Mark Victor Hansen, if that's a big deal, is what I did is I asked everybody in speaking, how did you get those bookings? Then when I started the book writing, I interviewed the 101 best-selling fiction and nonfiction authors. I never asked them how to write. I thought I could do that and I could even learn that. But I said, how did you ladies and gentlemen market, whether it was Scott Peck and A Road Less Traveled, or Wayne Dyer, or Barbara DeAngelis, or whomever in our neighborhood here, Clive Cussler, how did you market more than anyone else? And I wrote that out so I could write a viable business plan, and that's exactly what I keep doing. And the same thing works in network marketing.
Yes.
Don't ask anything except, Larry, how did you outmarket everybody? What did you and Mark Hughes do? What did you and Jimmy Rohn do? What is it that you did that is the secret sauce, so to speak? And I hear your dog even.
We have 4 of them.
sorry,
Oh, good.
it's like having kids, you know. If we can't put them in timeout.
We're grand dog sitting next week,
We
as a
love
matter
our
of fact.
dogs,
Our
yes.
kids, one of our groups of kids is going out to vacation at Disney World. So we're grand sitting a baby
Yes.
dog.
Yeah, I can only encourage all the listeners that are out here and the watchers and the listeners that are out here. Here you are, the biggest seller of books of all times, and you and Crystal here are sharing these unbelievable principles of life and happiness, and you're sharing it. And why someone wouldn't buy the book immediately, why they wouldn't get involved in the free club, clue, okay, and go there to be able to ask the questions, not only the two of you, but to the other participants it's in the book club. That's what you were just describing here when you went to all of these authors. What did you do here? And it's there, it's available. And I can only say to all of you that are out there that in our community, go do this, okay? And help yourself out and realize that you're good enough right now. You're good enough as you are right this minute to start this process. And it isn't commas and zeros that we're talking about the success, okay? Comma perhaps, but it isn't zeros and commas that make you successful. That again is at best is the result. It's what you become in the process, and realizing no matter if you got the 6-figure income, the 7-figure income, the 8-figure income, okay, it has nothing to do with who you are. That's just the result of the steps. Mark, you said it earlier here, it went up, it went down. You haven't been on this plan as long as I have before you don't experience that 3 or 4 times. You find out, wait a minute, you know what I mean? I am just like everybody else. I'm not smarter, richer, and prettier. I've got the same faults as everybody else has got, and I got to simplify and get on that path that I can stay on for me. And every waitress, every school teacher, every coach, okay, every grandmother, you guys have got this, and you got the people here, you got the book. Go make a better life, not 6 figures. This much. Make a better life today.
Much.
Make a better life this week. Make a better life this month. Just make it better and see you as God sees you. You're good enough.
I love it.
Amen.
We've been here, like I shared, our time has flown by. Any last words of wisdom would you like to share with the community here before we say goodbye?
Right. Well, I just want to, remind everybody that there is honestly no mechanism that has the ability to reveal what is hidden, like asking. And so when you're searching, when you're stuck, when you don't have the answers, grab onto this tool and use it. It's there for you. And there is always a better life waiting for you, for all of us, right? Every day. For every day, there's a better life. There is an answer. There's a solution. We just need to put ourselves out there and ask.
Wow.
Asking
your question determines the size of your results. So you might as well ask big. And like Larry was saying just a second ago, it won't happen instantaneously. But you know, remember, you're looking at a guy that was in a remedial reading from 1st grade to 6th grade, now world's best-selling author. So, you know, remarkable and impossible things can happen for everybody.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. You know, I mean, that said, you know, isn't it interesting, you know, how it's like Moses, right? He led the children with the stuttering.
Yes.
He couldn't even speak well, but he had to go in front of Pharaoh and speak. I mean, like, isn't it interesting that God uses, you know, flawed humans to perpetuate his message, to touch his people and to connect with his people. So such powerful stories. I mean, you know, I love that story, remedial reading. I mean, he didn't graduate. He couldn't even give the book report, too shy. I mean, look what's happened. Like, how many lives you've touched, how many lives he's touched, right? I mean, it's such a powerful message that if you guys, hey, if you guys can do it, right?
Anybody can do it.
If you guys can do it, like anybody.
Come on. There's nothing special about us.
It's fun.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So guys, I hope that you were impacted today. Such amazing wisdom here. Please share this out with somebody that you know. Go buy the book, join the book club, askthebookclub.com. Go join their book club, connect with Mark and Crystal. Such amazing wisdom here. Love your hearts, love your passion to serve. It's been such a special event that we've had here today. So guys, please connect with them. We appreciate your time being here. That's it for us. Mark and Crystal Hansen, you guys, Larry and Taylor Thompson saying goodbye here. Have a blessed,
Thanks,
amazing
guys.
day.
Really appreciate it. Really enjoyed this. Thank you
guys
so much.
stay on and we'll say bye to you privately. Bye, guys.